Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com, here for episode number 71 of the Post-Raw show. Fortunately, we had a little last-minute change in plans for our show. Unfortunately, Victoria is not going to be here tonight. She's dealing with the baby, and the little baby's not feeling too good tonight, unfortunately. So Victoria is going to be assisting with the baby, and I'm sure she'll check in at some point in the show. I'm sure she will. She feels very, very bad about having to miss tonight, especially after watching such a great episode of Raw. She was so looking forward to talking about the 10,248th screw job done in Canada. She was pumped to talk about that, pumped to talk about Super ShowDown, which everybody knows, I think, is Victoria's by far her favorite event of the year, other than Crown Jewel, of course. She's a huge supporter of the Saudi Arabian shows. Unfortunately, it's just me tonight, but that's all right. We'll get through this. We will be just fine. I appreciate you all hanging out and waiting on me, and let's say hello to some of the people in the chat room right now. Oh, we got our good buddy Nafi Sadat in the chat room tonight. Hey, Tedesco's, and then he corrects himself. Tedesco, yes, it's only one tonight. Kit Dyson in the chat room. Louis Veraldi in the chat room. Victoria Ori Riot. Oh, come on, Lou. Sweet Lou, come on, man. Andrew Elder here. Quentin Walters, our dear friend. Hello, Madman Mike Tedesco. Good vibes, the little one. Thank you. Mushoon Walls, welcome to Suplex City at the Tedesco's house. That's just a regular, that could be any given night. I know we got Billy Hefner in the chat room tonight, our good friend, our good Uncle Billy. Goosey's in the chat room tonight. Goosey, who is like restarting his life. I believe if he hasn't done so already, he's moving soon and taking a new job, and the guy's thriving right now. So Goosey, best of luck to you and in all that's going on in your life. You got 3 people over here in New Jersey rooting for you, that's for sure. All right. If I have not said hello to you yet, I will make sure to say hello to you at some point. Obviously, without Victoria tonight, you know how these shows go. It's a little quicker. It's just me talking, and sometimes doing a show on your own is just, let's just do it. Let's just get to it, okay? All right, so episode number 71 of the Post-Raw show. We are in Winnipeg for the first time in 15 years. Raw is coming back to Winnipeg. And when I heard that, I did not think that could be right. No way. They haven't had a Raw in Winnipeg in 15 years. That's pretty crazy. So it's also kind of funny too, because like you think about like the last time Raw was in Winnipeg, the roster that was assembled under them, that's the Ruthless Aggression era. Like you watch these shows on the network right now, the Ruthless Aggression era, full swing at that point. You got John Cena running wild on top, Orton and Edge, young in their prime. You got I don't know what time of the year in 2005 they were there, but it's possible you have Eddie Guerrero there. There's although he wouldn't be on Raw, he was always a SmackDown guy, but still, the roster looks a lot different, and the writing's a lot different, and it's just a different vibe that is sometimes missing from these shows. Without scripted promos, which we've talked about ad nauseum. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall into that rabbit hole tonight. Looking at this Twitter poll real quick, I thought Raw started off really, really well. I thought this is probably like I would say that first hour, especially with Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, it's probably one of the better first hours of Raw that I can remember in some time, and that was definitely one of the better Raw matches that you'll see. Other than Rey Mysterio and Andrade, that's about as good as it gets. Garza and Carrillo. They even pulled the crowd into it. The crowds that come watch main roster shows are they're there to see stars, and it's always clear that they're there to see stars because they only react to the people that they deem to be stars. Are you being pushed? Are you on television a lot? Okay, we'll cheer for you. Are you perpetually being pushed as a jobber? We're not getting off we are not going to put our hands together. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to sit here in complete apathy and just watch, which is the worst. And in general, doesn't matter how good the wrestling is. If they don't know the star, if they don't know the person or the persons in the ring, they're not going to get up. By right, they shouldn't really know much about. Well, they definitely shouldn't know much about Angel Garza. But he has been on television for the past 4 weeks doing his thing, and it's been, since Andrade got suspended, it's been really good. They've done a really great job building him up. Humberto Carrillo was kind of hit or miss since they started pushing him. I believe they started the push in October 2019 once they realized that Cedric Alexander just wasn't their guy. So Humberto Carrillo became the flavor of the month, and he quickly grew out of favor with them, and then somehow they decided he was going to be the flavor again. And now they are using him a little more consistently, and they're using him better, especially once they did the DDT on the floor and kind of took him off of television for like a month, because absence makes the heart grow fonder in this case. And he's been a lot better since then. What's up? Oh, Victoria just got out here. What?
You didn't set me up.
I said you were dealing with the baby who was not feeling well. You're not going to say hello to anybody?
No, I'll come.
Okay, she's going to come say hello in a few minutes. Anyway, so, but still, by rights, they don't know much about these guys. They put on a good match. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Tonight it worked. And maybe that has to do with there not having been a Raw in Winnipeg in 15 years. They were just the city was starving to see wrestling. Maybe that was enough to pull them into it. Would you like to say hello?
Wow. Hi, everyone.
Victoria says hello to her.
Shirt.
Excuse her shirt.
It has formula.
Yeah, just make sure you keep it up there.
Hello.
There's Victoria.
You like my crazy hair?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. Cool.
I don't know if she's going to stay down.
Yeah, I know.
So, just want to let you know.
All right. Well, she says hello. Everybody says hello.
Hello.
Angel Mr. Pantsoff Garza. Yes. We got Jamel in the chat room tonight. Jamel's in the chat room, hon. She's excited. She's excited about that. Yeah, and without Jericho, too, because Jericho probably would have been on that Winnipeg show in 2005, because he was definitely on Raw in 2005. Although he left at SummerSlam. If they were after SummerSlam, yeah, he might not be there. All right. Yeah, so that it was good. And of course, as is always the case with these 3-hour extravaganzas of Raw, it almost always fades down the stretch, especially when they're giving you the same stuff every single week, where it's some combination of Seth Rollins, AOP, and don't call him Buddy Murphy against Kevin Owens and some partners of his choosing, usually the Viking Raiders and Samoa Joe when he can stay healthy. Which is what a bummer. What an absolute bummer that Samoa Joe is injured once again at WrestleMania time. Last year was his first WrestleMania match. He debuted on the main roster in 2017. And 2019 was his first one, and he was going against Rey Mysterio, who I believe had a groin injury at the time, so the match went maybe a minute. I was there, but it was such a long show, I can't remember. I believe the match went, if it didn't go, it probably went about 50 seconds. But if it went a little over a minute, it probably was about a minute and a half tops. I couldn't imagine it being longer than that. That's it. That's his whole entire WrestleMania resume. The year before that, I believe he had a knee injury that kept him out, or was it a wrist injury? And now he was just coming back from a broken thumb, a really badly broken thumb too, because it kept him out of action for about 2.5 months. Did the commentary thing, got a concussion on the Raw after Royal Rumble. Came back from the slight concussion, and now he got concussed at some WWE commercial shoot. No luck in WrestleMania time. Next year for WrestleMania, they got to bubble wrap him. They got to bubble wrap Samoa Joe because he's too good to be left off the show. And it's such a shame that he hasn't really had a WrestleMania, storyline that he can really sink his teeth into. Because this guy he's super, super good. And it's just such a bummer too, because Samoa Joe been around forever. He's in I believe he's 40 years old. Did he reach 40? He might be. If he's not 40, he's probably 39 or 30. I'm gonna look it up real quick. See what happens. No, he's 40 years old, and actually his birthday is in less than a month, so he's gonna be 41 years old this year. 41. Everybody has that bump card. You always hear, the old timers talk about the bump card, and every single time you take a bump, you're taking another tick off that card. How many ticks do you have left when you're 41? I'd love to see him. I hope he can make it back, but I don't know. It didn't sound good when I heard about it, and all the research I did on it, asking around, it doesn't look promising for Samoa Joe to be back in time for WrestleMania this year, which is, again, such a bummer. Anyway, for these 3-hour Raws, we've been getting the same combination of, like I said, Rollins, AOP, and Murphy, some combination of them against Owens and the Viking Raiders, and it's getting boring. It's really, really reminiscent of, when was it, 2016? Yeah, it was 2016 when it was, I believe they did almost 11 weeks in a row of some combination of Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho, or Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, or Roman Reigns and a mystery partner versus Kevin Owens and Jericho. For over 2 months they did something like that, and it was like the most miserable winter of, and there have been pretty bad winter seasons for these shows. That one takes the cake, but this is starting to feel like that. And it's starting to show. I mean, you can't always go by ratings. I get that. People cry about, you can't compare the ratings anymore. Well, there's still something to be said when the show starts with 2.5 million people watching, and by the third hour, and they held steady for the second hour, so it's 2.5 or it's 2.6, then it goes to 2.5, and then it drops to 2.1. That's a pretty big drop. They had that drop last week on Raw. People aren't interested in what they're doing in the third hour, and you're not keeping them around by giving them the same stuff every single week. They kind of switched it up a little bit this week, but it still felt like more of the same. Everybody's saying that Joe is 40. And Jamel makes a good point about Samoa Joe. When Joe's bump card is due and time to clock out. Wow. Oh, man. Jamel says it's such a bummer that he wasted a lot of his good bump years in TNA where they couldn't get it right. Yeah, it's so true. Say what you want about WWE. They've been, for the most part, since they called him up, he's been used right. He's been made to look like a monster. He's presented really well. In fact, I think of anybody's presentation on the main roster, Samoa Joe's is probably the most consistently good presentation. Of all the characters that they brought up and all the things they've done with certain characters, Samoa Joe's been consistent the entire time. Even when he turns face, he's not really like a face. He's still kind of got that edge to him. You can't really trust him, this and that. I like what they do with Joe. And again, that's why it's such a freaking bummer that he's probably not going to make it to WrestleMania this year. Totally sucks. All right, let's talk about this Raw real quick. So we got Randy Orton making his way to the ring, and he makes mention of the fact that Monday Night Raw has not been there in Winnipeg in 15 years. And he said, thanks to the internet, I did some research, and 15 years ago on that Raw, I was the Intercontinental Champion. I was 24 years old, and I was also punched in the face by a certain man. And I was like, of course, it's got to be Edge, but a big Y2J chant started up, and he did his best to try to talk over it, didn't want to, call attention to that. So he made sure he kept going, a man who had who would save me from my self-destructive tendencies. This is a man he would eventually look up to and love like a brother. His name was Adam, but everyone knows him as Edge. And that, kind of wiped out the Y2J chants. They started up a huge "We Want Edge" chant. And I got to say, for the most part, like I said, this show faded down the stretch. The crowd did not. This was definitely a town that was starved for, wrestling, a wrestling television show. Not just, a WWE live event. They want wrestling TV. And this was their chance to go to the show, check it out, and, be part of the crowds that, they normally see on television. And they were pretty hyped all night. They did a really, really good job. And I hope that this convinces them to go back to Winnipeg more than once every 15 years. Because I would love to see more crowds like that. Like Pittsburgh gets 2 shows a year minimum. 2 and big shows too. It's like they'll get a pay-per-view sometimes, or they'll get like the Raw before a big show or the Raw after a big show, and Pittsburgh is dead every single time. And they're a legendarily dead crowd too. I mean, like you watch like old pay-per-views from Pittsburgh, even King of the Ring 98, where the Hell in a Cell match with Mankind and Undertaker took place. You literally have to throw yourself off the cell and be chokeslammed through the cell in order to get this crowd to care. They need to see crazy. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting on their hands the entire time. Granted, the King of the Ring 98 show, other than that Hell in a Cell and probably the first blood match with Austin and Kane, is a very, very awful, awful show. Like, the undercard, the wrestling on that show was atrocious. So it's kind of like, one of those shows that just gets kind of like, built up in like this like legendary atmosphere. Really, it's just like a 2-match show. Anyway, so Edge is talking about, how no one can understand what he did to Edge almost a month ago. He doesn't expect people to understand why he did what he did. What he did, he's very sorry for. And from the bottom of his heart, he's truly sorry. That brings out Kevin Owens. And I was like, all right, good. I as long as Kevin Owens isn't with Seth Rollins this week, I'm a happy camper. I'm a happy camper. He says, for the past few months, I've been dealing with delusional people like AOP and their little buddy Murphy, which I love that line. And their little buddy Murphy, because he's not calling him Buddy Murphy, because Buddy is gone from Murphy's name, but call him the little buddy Murphy. That was a cute line. And the Monday Night moron Seth Rollins. Owens is putting those issues aside for tonight because he has an issue with Orton. And Owens talks about how when he was on the independent circuit, he dreamed of making it to WWE one day, and having to watch Edge retire sucked, not only just for Edge, but for him as well, who dreamt of facing Edge one day. And no one was happier for Edge than Owens was watching him backstage as he was waiting for his turn in the Royal Rumble. And the very next night, Orton took it all away from Edge. Owens asks why Orton did it. Orton says everyone thinks they know him, which is obviously Edge's theme song. All he knows is that people, and Owens says, well, all I know is that people are sick of watching us talk, challenges him to a fight. Orton accepts the challenge, but not right at this minute, and leaves the ring. So that was a good opening segment. I really, really liked that. It was a little bit of a change. Like they're telling you right now, we're changing direction tonight. It's not going to be Owens and AOP or Owens and Seth Rollins and this and that. Of course, it does wind up being that in some form. But you're going to get a different match tonight than the usual tag. I'm happy as hell. I can't say that. I'm just looking at the chat room. AEW got good pops in Pittsburgh last year, right? Yeah. But if you think about it, they were like it was at the University of Pittsburgh, so you got some college kids there and stuff like that. So that changes the atmosphere. If you have, families or the regular, Pittsburgh crowd coming to this, what is it? They used to call it the Igloo. I think it's called, I forget what they call it, what their arena is called. But if you got like just the regular people coming out to the arena, it's usually pretty dead. Yeah. Oh, Andrew Elder makes a good point, too. We've only had 3 pay-per-views from the WWE in Memphis, and now we get more SmackDown shows than Raw lately. Yeah, That's true. That's true. Well, Memphis is I feel like for SmackDown lately they've been booking them in cities that have a name, if you know what I mean. Like Memphis is like that sounds like a big time American city because it's like, oh, Memphis, Tennessee, you got Elvis Presley and da 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 da, and Jerry Lee Lewis and all those guys from that area. PPG Paints Arena. Thank you, Goosey. That's the one in Pittsburgh. Anyway, so good heel work from Orton, and again sets up something good later on. Angel Garza and Zelina Vega backstage with Charlie Caruso, and this was just an absolutely odd, as usual, interview segment with Charlie because Charlie, you know how I feel about Charlie. I'm not gonna go there. It was bad. She's bad. She's very, very bad. And for whatever reason, they really wanted Angel Garza to kiss her hand and say, business is always pleasure. So Charlie, who's done 15,000 awful interviews, decided tonight's the night I'm going to shake hands with Zelina Vega and shake hands with Angel Garza. It was like, just awful. They couldn't have shoehorned. They couldn't have made it look any less natural than what they did there. Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. Now this was pretty darn cool. They started off right away. Garza takes Carrillo down, and all of a sudden they have their legs hooked, and this happens, which was pretty cool. They wind up with their legs hooked. They're punching and chopping each other, and then they turn each other upside down. They're still slapping each other in the face. I've been recapping for, God, I guess this will be my 12th year recapping for Wrestleview, and I've done a lot of shows. Recapped thousands of matches, I would say, at this point in my career here. I've never seen that one before. I've never seen that. That's pretty creative. That's pretty cool. For me not to have seen something like that, that makes me pretty happy. If I can see something I haven't seen before, I'm a happy camper. Good suicide dive from Carrillo. Both these guys are fired up. Obviously, they're actual cousins. They're family. They enjoy working with each other, and there is that sort of competitiveness that you can only really get, from another family member. Where it's like, I'm going to show you up. It's like, we've been doing this both since, for our whole entire lives, and let's just try to top whatever we're doing right now. And it served them well, served the crowd well. I just had a lot of fun watching this. Garza is just, oh my God. I mean, I like Humberto Carrillo. Don't get me wrong. Jerry Lawler, by the way, had an absolutely killer line about Humberto Carrillo. And I like how they're building him up. I got to say that, like they're trying to say that he's too young, he's not ready yet. And of course they're going to try to build that up. And it's not guaranteed success, but they're going to keep dropping those hints on commentary every single week that this guy's not ready. He's still got some growing to do. He's still got some learning to do. And of course he'll overcome, it's planned for him to overcome the odds, right? Jerry Lawler had this amazing line tonight. He goes, he's still got a real baby face too. And it's not changing. He's older now, but he, like when he was dating when he was a teenager, he was jealous that his girlfriend was able to grow a mustache before he was. I was like, that's a great line. That's a really good line. Not for the girlfriend, but it's definitely good for Jerry Lawler. I say what you will, and a lot of people have complained about Jerry Lawler on commentary for whatever reason. Just not happy. He's doing a great job. He really, really is doing a great job, and he's adding a lot to the product by him being there. And he's really keeping Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton, on their toes. It's good stuff. Really, really good stuff. But Angel Garza is just having an incredible year. It's like Andrade, he could be a star. and he's definitely marrying, into the right family. But Garza has an incredible look. He just looks like a star. Looks like money. He performs like a star. Performs like money. I have to admit, when I first saw Angel Garza on NXT, I believe I first saw him in August last year on an episode of NXT. He was doing the pants thing and just kind of doing like this generic, like, the only thing that comes to mind right now is because I've been watching all the WrestleManias and recapping them. WrestleMania 5 will be out tomorrow, and I'm going to have WrestleMania 6 out later this week because I got to start pumping these things out a little quicker if we're going to make it to WrestleMania, if we're going to have all the WrestleManias updated by WrestleMania. But the only name that's coming to mind for what I saw in August was what Jesse the Body Ventura constantly called Tito Santana. Chico Santana. Like, I was just like, this is Chico Garza over here ripping his pants off and doing the Latin lover thing. I was like, oh God, but it developed into something wonderful. And the Cruiserweight title reign, the matches against Lio Rush on NXT television, getting called up and being a smarmy asshole heel with Zelina Vega, getting an opportunity because Andrade goes down. Does Garza get this opportunity if Andrade doesn't fail that drug test, or whoever it happened, whatever the wellness violation was? I'm not saying he failed the drug test, but he might not have shown up to the for a test or something like that. You don't know what happened, or his prescription, he thought he had the right one, he didn't, or whatever it is. What he like this guy has taken the ball and run with it, and he's doing a really good job. I thought tonight, like when they had them going 2 segments, I was like, okay, well, I guess they're going to blow this off for a little while because Andrade's coming back next week. But he's doing so well, you can't just blow this off. So Angel Garza does get the win here, rolls up after doing a really, really great series of just trading pins and like just great counters out of those pins. Really good stuff. Garza pulls the tights, gets the win. So he's sticking around. I was so happy about that. This guy, he's small. That's his only problem. That's his only problem. It sucks that you have to think about, the height, and all that. Like, Vince doesn't like tiny guys. This guy could be a star. He could be a star. He's got all the tools. All the tools. Really, really good match here. Ricochet versus Luke Gallows of the OC. I think we got some people in the chat tonight. More people. We got Daniel Schell. We have Hayden Barker. Good. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you all coming and checking me out. Nice to have you here with me. All right. Ricochet versus Luke Gallows. Ricochet is facing Brock Lesnar at Super ShowDown for the WWE Championship. He had the win against Lashley. I think he pinned Lashley in that match too. I didn't watch. That wasn't the one I recapped because we were in the hospital. But I read the recap done by Roy Nemmer, by the way. Very good job. Ricochet really hasn't looked all that great since then. He's just been kind of like in these like enhancement matches, and it's like, okay, cool. Tonight he beat Luke Gallows. Last week he beat Carl Anderson. Yeah, he's really prepared to face Brock Lesnar. Yeah. I'm just not feeling it. I am kind of hoping, though, that because Ricochet is so damn good, he just really, like, I don't want to say that he looks like, he's just kind of going through the motions right now, but you can tell, like, there's a considerable dip in excitement from where he was at this time last year. You think about it, he debuted around this time last year on the main roster. So a full year into Ricochet's run, up and down, really just up and down. Started off with a heavy push. They didn't really want to beat him. Then they just started beating him, and now he's just a guy on the roster. And his body language says that he knows that he's just a guy on the roster. That's how it feels to me. And I think I haven't seen Brock Lesnar go over to Saudi Arabia yet with his working shoes on, except for that cage match against Roman Reigns at the very first one they did, the Greatest Royal Rumble. Since then, it's just been like short little matches. He's making a 15-hour flight over there to just do a 5-second match. Like the thing that they did with Cain Velasquez, nothing. The Braun Strowman match was nothing. I really hope that if Brock Lesnar goes over there, does the 15-hour flight or however many hours it is, that he brings his working shoes. Because if when Brock Lesnar wants to, he can have a great match with anybody. And Ricochet really could really, really go over well here. He could be made to look really good in an obvious loss to Brock Lesnar. It's just, how do they want to do it? Do they want Brock Lesnar to go over there and give him the Kofi Kingston treatment and beat him in 8 seconds, or do they want to, let Ricochet show a little bit? Kind of like how they did it with Rey Mysterio. It wasn't a long match. It was that match at Survivor Series went about 3-4 minutes. But it was all action and intensity, and it was pretty good. And Mysterio I thought he looked pretty darn good, until the aftermath, which was Lesnar beating up his family again, and that was that. But I hope Lesnar puts on his working shoes, because they could actually have a pretty good match. One of my probably my only favorite thing about this entire segment was just this. Paul Heyman watching backstage with his evil Paul E. Dangerously face on. How do you make that face? It's so good. Heyman, the evil genius. All right, we got AJ Styles walking backstage with Gallows and Anderson. They're arguing. Styles tells them that they need to plant their flag at the top of the food chain ahead of WrestleMania. They bump into Aleister Black and beat the crap out of him. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman in the ring. Heyman just, again, anytime you need Paul Heyman to cut a money promo ahead of a pay-per-view, even though this pay-per-view will not be seen by a lot of people, he delivers in spades. Like the guy, he is just on the microphone. Is he one of the best of all time? I mean, it's like Bobby the Brain Heenan, Paul Heyman. I mean, and that's what I got. Jimmy Hart, I was never a Jimmy Hart fan. He was always there for me. I'm sure Andrew might feel a little differently because he's from the Memphis area. Maybe he likes Jimmy Hart a little more than I do. But Jimmy Hart never really did it for me. But Bobby the Brain Heenan, I think universally everybody just knows that he's like the best manager of all time. But is Paul Heyman there, or is Paul Heyman even above him? That's the debate. It's like who's number one, who's number two. I can't think of anybody better. I can't think of anybody better. I'd love to know what the chat room thinks about that. Anyway, Paul Heyman is just, he talks about the what ifs. You need to watch on Thursday. You need to watch Super ShowDown on Thursday, because just by the fact that Brock Lesnar is getting into the ring with Ricochet, something momentous could happen. Ricochet could defeat Brock Lesnar and win the WWE Championship and go on to main event WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre, changing the entire structure of the WrestleMania card. You don't know what's going to happen. But he says, unfortunately, that's just a lot of ifs. If can go out the window because Lesnar is taking out Ricochet and he's going to WrestleMania. There's not going to be anything groundbreaking. He's only had one spoiler be wrong in 7 years. This is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Lesnar is going to defeat Ricochet, then he's going to take Drew McIntyre to Suplex City and defeat him once and for all at WrestleMania. They'll all realize now and forever, the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Heavyweight Champion of the World, Brock Lesnar. Just a really good promo. No description of mine can possibly do it service. You just have to check it out for yourself. Trevor Mishke says, I always liked Slick. He was a jive soul bro. Yes. Yeah. Slick was pretty good. Jamel making a good point about Vicky Guerrero being a great manager. The Grand Wizard was supposed to be good, but yeah, he says he before his time. You know, Freddie Blassie he was always like a madman wrestler first, and then he kind of became a manager down the line, but his health kind of prevented him from really doing more than that. Andrew says Jimmy Hart was better in Memphis than WWE. That's an interesting point too. Yeah, I have heard that as well. That WWE kind of he kind of became a gimmick rather than like a manager. Slick, that's a guy who, yeah, you're right. I mean, Trevor Michigan, now he's got me thinking because Slick. Daniel Shell says Abraham Washington. Oh God, Daniel. God damn it, Daniel. Michune Walls, Mr. Fuji. Yeah, actually, I just recapped the match with Mr. Fuji and the Powers of Pain versus Demolition. Fuji was a kook. He was a total kook. Weird dude. Jim Cornette should get some love, yeah, for sure. But yeah, and he was a great talker, no doubt about it. Jim Cornette could definitely talk. Yeah. I don't know, but Slick being better than Bobby the Brain Heenan or better than Paul Heyman, I don't know. He was good. Was he that good? I don't know. But it's a debate, and that's why I like having these things. I like having the debates. Eric Rowan versus Aleister Black. Now, Aleister Black, as just mentioned, was destroyed by the OC. So he's out there limping. You got Eric Rowan. Aleister Black defeated Rowan last week. So I'm like, okay, they beat up Aleister Black really badly so that Eric Rowan can get the win back without taking anything away from Aleister Black. Because you can tell the way they're booking Aleister Black. It's not now, but at some point this year, they're going to make a big push with him. So they're booking him very, very carefully. And they're doing a good job with it, too. But I've just been conditioned to 50-50 booking or even Steven booking, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, okay, so ahead of the Tuake Mountain Trophy, because now it's the Tuake Mountain Trophy, now that this chat room correctly identified that last week, that it's the Tuake Mountains, because I was like, what the hell is a Tuake Trophy? What does that even mean? Now they're clarifying. They clarified this week on television that it's the Tuake Mountain, which is the symbol of Saudi Arabian strength or whatever it is. Interesting that Rusev is not in that match anymore. Very interesting. R-Truth is in it now. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So I figured, and then, Aleister Black can also take the injuries into the Tuake Trophy gauntlet match, and then he can lose because of the injuries. Kind of saves and protects him and lets, probably AJ Styles win the Tuake Trophy, which might lead to an Undertaker match. Who knows? But Aleister Black actually won this match. He actually won this match, and they actually did a really good job with this too, because Rowan got a little silly. He charges Black on the outside. Black sidesteps him. Rowan runs into the cage. And we still don't know what the hell's inside the cage. Knocks the cage over. He flips out. Sets the cage up. Aleister Black, meanwhile, is in the ring convalescing. Rowan gets in the ring, and Black just grazes him on the chin. Grazes him. They did a really good job setting this up. Grazes him on the chin with a black mass that stuns Eric Rowan. Doesn't take him down completely, but stuns him. Rowan stumbles to his feet and takes a massive black mass to the jaw. And Aleister Black actually gets the win. I thought this was a really, really good thing. I was not expecting Aleister Black to get the win here. Like I said, it was like, oh, he gets beat up. He's obviously losing. In fact, like, it's one of those times where I actually, as I was writing it and I knew the match was getting close to the end, I already put in my quick match results, Eric Rowan defeats Aleister Black. So I had to go back and change that, obviously, after this. That's how sure I was this was happening. I like being surprised, even if it's a throwaway nothing match on Raw. If they can surprise me, I'm a happy guy. And so far, this is a very good Raw. Maybe I'll convince myself that the whole entire thing was great. Who knows? But a good gutsy win for Aleister Black. They made him look like $1 million here. And speaking of $1,000,000, they made Drew McIntyre look like $1,000,000. Usually, it's almost like the last few years to win the Royal Rumble is like the kiss of death. Really, the kiss of death. South Dakotan strength. Sorry, I every now and then. Oh, Playboy Gary Hart. Man, oh man, these are names now. Gary Hart was good, yeah. Teddy Long, not bad. Teddy Long's okay. Yeah, wow, you guys are coming up with some pretty good managers here. Anyway, it's almost like the kiss of death to win the Royal Rumble lately because of how much television there is and how many hours you need to fill up. Inevitably, whoever wins the Royal Rumble is going to get overexposed. And you look at what happened with Shinsuke Nakamura in 2018. Even Seth Rollins in 2019 kind of was like, okay. Becky Lynch in 2019 was like, by the time we got to WrestleMania, sorry, I'm just pouring myself a little drink here. By the time we got to WrestleMania, like Becky Lynch was ice cold, because they had to do a whole convoluted storyline with her in order just to stretch this entire thing out to WrestleMania, and they wound up hurting her momentum. Same thing with Rollins. It was just like, okay, well, okay, good, he wins, perfect. And Rollins spent half the build for that anyway, injured. Excuse me for 1 second. Roman Reigns winning in 2015, kiss of death. Orton winning in 2017. There was no momentum for that anyway. The Wyatt match at WrestleMania, there was no excitement for that. There was never going to be excitement for that. Who won in 2016? Oh no, it was Triple H, but that was for the title, so that doesn't really count. But like lately, it's been the kiss of death because they get overexposed. They have been doing a tremendous job with Drew McIntyre and even Charlotte Flair. Charlotte wasn't even on television tonight. Good stuff. She shows up for like a little segment at NXT and is done. She's going to wrestle on NXT this week. Not overexposing her. They're not doing too much. Perfect. You got to like find a way from the Royal Rumble to Elimination Chamber to kind of keep these people fresh. And then you can start the real build. Because after Elimination Chamber, it's basically 4 weeks of build until WrestleMania. You can put together a competent, good storyline in 4 weeks without overexposing anybody. So anyway, they do a sit-down interview with Drew McIntyre to try to give a little more depth to his character because, they're going with him. They are going with him. And he did a great... This was just awesome. And it just so happened Charlie Caruso was there too. So this is probably the best thing Charlie Caruso's done in her WWE career. McIntyre talks about coming into WWE in 2009, being anointed by Vince McMahon as a future world champion. Like this guy is, like the dreaded, JR calling Rocky Maivia a blue chipper. It's like, oh God, you can't kill a guy worse than being anointed something. If Drew McIntyre goes, how many world titles have I won since then? 0. Zippo. Nothing. McIntyre says he got lost in his head and was really down, especially when he was in 3MB. And as they're going, they're showing clips of very young Drew McIntyre shaking hands with Vince McMahon on SmackDown in 2009, which I remember vividly recapping that show because it was one of the few times that Vince was on SmackDown, in that era. And I was like, oh, cool, the boss is on. It's a bigger recap than normal. And then showing Drew McIntyre a little older than that in 3MB, and he is like just skinny, and it's just like it is kind of cringy to watch him. Like now knowing what he is, and to watch him, doing the air guitar thing. He goes, when I got released, that created a huge chip on my shoulder. That really pissed me off, and I would be damned if the last thing people remember of me is doing the air guitar in 3MB. And I was like, what a great line, great. Made his return at NXT, wanted to show what he could do. Now 2 years on the main roster. After watching Brock Lesnar run through all the competitors in the Royal Rumble, his singular focus was eliminating Lesnar and winning the match. He's heard about all his life. He has potential. He's potential. Well, the potential is going to be realized at WrestleMania. I thought this was just so damn good. And they did an unbelievable job of with interspersing clips in this, and just kind of like just really just creating some real depth there, where it's like now I know what a Drew McIntyre is. I wish they could do this for everybody. I wish that I knew the focus, the singular focus of most of the people on this roster. But they did a great job of telling me tonight, why should I care about Drew McIntyre? He just laid out all the reasons for you right there. Excellent. Excellent work. That is some of the best storytelling they've done in quite some time. Because it's not really much of a storyline, right? It's real life mixed in with the fantasy world. And at the end of the day, what are all the characters that we could really connect with? What are all the characters that stand the test of time? You think about Bret Hart, and like you watch Wrestling with Shadows, and you're like, God, like the title meant that much at some point? Well, damn it. Like this guy, his whole entire life was his gimmick. But was it a gimmick, or was that his actual life? You can connect with Bret Hart. You can connect with Steve Austin because it's really Steve Williams with the volume turned up to 11. You can connect with, Dwayne Johnson as the cocky, Rocky Maivia, because that's, at the end, that smooth talking dude, that's really who The Rock is. Like all these guys, you can, that it's their personality 211. I felt like this was actually like the guy behind Drew McIntyre talking, Drew Galloway. Very, very cool stuff. Really, really good. They need to do more of this. Less of people trying to create characters for them. Great stuff. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But showing him in the ring with 3MB and knowing that Jinder Mahal is imminently returning, if Drew McIntyre were to win the title, it's because it's one thing to win a title. And then it's what do you do with him after to keep him hot? I'm really afraid they're going to give him Jinder Mahal as his first competitor, as his first title defense. I'm really afraid. Really, really afraid of that. But we'll see. Okay. R-Truth in the ring is going to do, I don't know, some show. What I don't even know what it's called. Truth TV with Bobby Lashley and Lana. And they had a match. Bobby Lashley beat him. Whatever. Next week, Raw from Brooklyn, which is kind of making me really want to go to Brooklyn. Rey Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo take on Angel Garza and Andrade. Aleister Black takes on AJ Styles. And we're also going to get Beth Phoenix. WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix will be on the show. So I am praying she gets an RKO from Randy Orton. That would be just so great. That would just go so well in those video packages for Orton and Edge at WrestleMania. Very good stuff. Women's Elimination Chamber contract signing. Jerry Lawler's in there. It's Asuka, Natalya, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. Honestly, when I was filling out the names, because I knew Shayna Baszler wasn't there, because Asuka was screaming that she wasn't there, I was like, okay, Asuka, Natalya, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott. I'm like, who's the fifth person? For the life of me, and they were right there in the ring, but like they weren't focusing the camera on her, so I was like, who else is in the Elimination Chamber match? And I was like, oh yeah, Sarah Logan. And like, so you have the three members of the Riot Squad there. Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. And all they did was focus on Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott's issue. And Sarah Logan just happened to be there. Like, why even put Sarah Logan into this match? Obviously they've made it crystal clear that she has no chance. And like, I would rather just fill up the match. Obviously, none of them have a chance because it's going to be Shayna Baszler no matter what. It's got to be Shayna Baszler. They even made that clear that it's only Shayna Baszler. But you have Asuka in there, you have Natalya in there, you have Liv Morgan who kind of got a push and it's kind of over now. You got the returning Ruby Riott. Can't we put Kairi Sane in there? Like would that be that terrible? Rather than Sarah Logan, who's just literally just there just to fill out a spot, just put somebody in there that like Kairi Sane that could do some stuff. Come on. And then it could create a little drama too with Asuka and Kairi Sane if they're in the ring together. I'd like to see that more than I like to see Sarah Logan being eliminated in 30 seconds or whatever she's going to be doing, or God forbid having an extended stay in the Elimination Chamber as well. Anyway. It breaks down into chaos after Shayna Baszler eventually comes to the ring. Asuka tells her to bite her. The ring clears out, and all 5 women disappear, leaving Shayna Baszler just there. Just no one knows what happened to them. They just disappeared, and that's it. Becky Lynch comes out, and this is where I kind of just lost my temper a little bit, because Becky Lynch comes out after having been bitten in the neck 2 weeks ago by Shayna Baszler. She no-sold the neck in the same night, has made jokes. Like, she comes out, she's like, oh, da-da-da-da. Like, totally no-selling Shayna Baszler whatsoever. Shayna Baszler, in fact, they had her, when Becky Lynch's music hit, goes, like Shayna Baszler's not supposed to be afraid of Becky Lynch, rather than Becky Lynch being afraid of Shayna Baszler or being intimidated by her. There's, like, they did all this, spent all this time in NXT building up an aura around Shayna Baszler, and they even built up an aura around her when she debuted on the main roster by biting the neck or by winning the Survivor Series main event. Like, they've done a lot with Shayna Baszler, having her eliminate 8 women in the Royal Rumble and going down to the final person out. And then you have Becky Lynch coming out there and just totally no-selling her, doing the jokey, I'm a face, I don't care about anything gimmick. That is just so not what is needed for this feud. And I am, I'm praying that they don't botch this any further, because they're going to limp into WrestleMania if they treat Shayna Baszler like this. Like if this is the best that they have, if these are the best ideas that they have for Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch, they're going to limp into WrestleMania, and more likely than not, Becky Lynch is going to defeat Shayna Baszler to retain the title, and we're just going to go into infinity with this title reign. Maybe Ronda Rousey will beat her at SummerSlam. Who knows? But it's time to take the belt. It really is. It's time to move on from Becky Lynch, just for a little while at least. So I hope they do the right thing at WrestleMania, but they don't, historically they don't book women that well. So there's that. And Vince probably doesn't know what to do with a Shayna Baszler. So there you go. I have no faith, right? Currently, as of this moment, I have no faith in Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch. And it sucks, because 2 weeks ago I had a lot of excitement about it. At the Royal Rumble, I had a lot of excitement about it. No excitement now. They did that great sit-down interview with Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler in November before the Survivor Series, when Bayley was just an afterthought. They did the sit-down on Raw with those two, and it was phenomenal. Why can't we be doing more of that? Why is Becky Lynch coming out joking and getting bitten in the neck, and drawing blood and not caring? Why do they book people like this? That's not what. That's I remember Vince McMahon used to get mad at Ric Flair. Hearing the stories of him getting mad at Ric Flair, for the way he would sell or perform in the ring, during his Evolution run. And Rick would come backstage after a match, and Vince would go, "80s heel stuff doesn't work anymore. It's bullshit. No, you can't work like that." This is like, he should follow his own damn advice, because this kind of like, goody two shoe, not that Becky Lynch is a goody two shoe, but like the face that doesn't care about anything. That's like 20 years ago, maybe more, 25 years ago. How are you supposed to get invested in a storyline if one of the main characters is booked to not look like they are sweating or caring about anything? Why should you care if the person on television, their body language says, "I don't care"? Never understood that. Never, ever understood that. Angelo Dawkins versus Murphy. This match went 3.5 seconds. Angelo Dawkins slammed Murphy, and then Rollins broke it up. So the winner by disqualification is Angelo Dawkins. Montez Ford versus Seth Rollins. This actually wound up being a pretty darn good match. So maybe it's just this third hour, but like this was actually pretty good. in the third hour. I think I'm starting to change my mind on this Raw. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I'm thinking it was. I think I'm thinking it's bad because of that awful finish, which I'll talk about in a few moments. Montez Ford, Seth Rollins actually go on to have a really good match. They actually had some pretty good chemistry in the ring. I love the stomp that Rollins gave him at the end. I love, Montez Ford has so much potential. It's like insane the amount of potential he has. Athletically, he's probably one of the top athletes, I would say, for his body type in WWE. I've never seen a guy jump so high, on drop kicks and on senton, somersault sentons to the outside. Just great. Like, the guy has just some amazing kicks. Really, really good. Charisma, you're not going to find any better on the charisma. You're just not. The guy is, like, when it's time to eventually break up the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins is going to do good. He's going to do really well because he's a big dude and he can move, but he's smooth in the ring. Montez Ford, and again, the whole entire caveat to this is that Vince has to believe in it. Montez Ford it just exudes money. It's like Angel Garza, like I was talking about him before, like the guy's money. Montez Ford is like main event money. The look, the moveset, the charisma. This guy's got it all. He's got that. What was that guy on that show? Storage Wars. The guy who was like the dealer. He was always like going like, "Where's that wow factor? Where's that wow factor?" When I watch Montez Ford, like I'm like, wow. The guy's got it going on. He's really, really good. He winds up losing here, but it's not one of those losses where like this was a bad loss. He looked really, really good. The problem with the Street Profits, and watch this stomp. This was like so cool. Got a lot of height on that. Great sell. Good stuff. The problem with the Street Profits for me is that they're victims of just like, lazy booking. It's like they were the hosts of Raw like all summer. Then they kind of got like a little bit of a run, doing like a match or two. They beat the OC in their first official Raw match, and then it was like, okay, off TV again. Then they're doing the Saturday Night Live Weekend Update ripoff, which sucks, so badly. It's not even funny. They're just not in front of the crowd a lot. It's like they have no traction. Like they faced the Viking Raiders in a Raw Tag Team title match like a month ago or something like that, and they lost in like 3 minutes. I was like, what was that? I guess the Street Profits are out now. Okay, whatever. If they could use them consistently, this could be a great tag team act. People would. I think people want to see these guys. They just got to just be out there and just let them do their gimmick every week. Even if it's not a long match, even if it's not against Seth Rollins or somebody like that, if they're just doing like quick matches against, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, for example, enhancement talent. Let them come out, do their promo, get their catchphrases over, because just because it was on NXT does not mean that everybody watched it. Obviously, you look at the ratings for NXT, not everybody watches it. So the We Want the Smoke thing, you got to go out there and do it multiple times in order to get people to, oh yeah, that's right, they're the We Want the Smoke guys. I kind of like saying that. We want the smoke, we want the smoke. Like, you need to send them out there and just do it a bunch of times. They're out there acting like everybody knows their catchphrases and nobody does. Because they're not being used consistently. Use them consistently. And you'll see that there'll be big returns on that. Big returns. Anyway, I'll get off of that. Nuffy said, ruthless aggression. Love that. We have Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens in our main event. And like I said, when you're in Canada, no matter what, no matter where you are, it doesn't just have to be Montreal. The screw job finish is always in play. Always. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton are just having a match, and then all of a sudden Orton DDTs him coming into the ring, and the referee, 1, 2, 3, and rings the bell, gets out of there. I see, like, that's the stuff. I never understand this. It's like, or it's like they do pins before that. Like why that one? Why is that the one that the referee, quick counts? It doesn't matter. Why do we always have to do a screw job finish in Canada? It's just like so tired. And granted, like this one wasn't the worst one that I've ever seen. In fact, I always kind of like the crooked referee storyline. You think about the evil Hebner in the Andre Hogan match from the main event in 1988, or Dangerous Danny Davis, the crooked referee, starting in 86, 87. Sylvain Grenier and No Way Out 2003 for Rock and Hogan. Brad Maddox with CM Punk and Ryback in the Hell in a Cell. I like the crooked referee storyline, but damn it, it's like every single time in Canada, always against the Canadian. Why are we trying to, like that's the best they can come up with every single time? The Montreal Screwjob was 23 years ago at this point. Can we move on? Like, seriously, move on from it. Ugh. But, to their credit, they didn't lose the crowd because Kevin Owens quickly, brought them back. Got out of a concerto from Orton. Orton just left. Owens, who had a problem with Orton, didn't even bother chasing him, so he just let him go. Owens grabs the referee, rips his t-shirt, or rips his referee shirt, and to reveal a Rollins Messiah t-shirt underneath. So obviously he's a disciple of Seth Rollins, and that, but like it was weird because like I could go back and watch the match. Maybe I just wasn't picking it up, but like I didn't pick up anything where the referee was crooked until the very end. Like they should have been at least teasing it. Commentators had no idea what was going on. It was just like, oh, what is this? Was there a botch? It's like, I'd like to have the story explained to me. Anyway, Owens gives the guy a stunner, goes under the ring, grabs a table, which gets an enormous pop from the crowd, powerbombs the guy through the table, and sits down and begs Rollins to get in the ring, but he doesn't. The show ends with the crowd still fired up. So they did save it at the end, but damn it, I really hated that finish. I really hated it just because it's like, that's just, hey, we're in Canada, and that's what we do. That's what we do. Jamel Watson says, hate to say it, but we kind of need some type of authority figure to lay down the law. I've been saying that for months. Not an authority figure that needs to be out every single week. We need we need a commissioner, or we need like a Jack Tunney, like a president figure who just comes out and kind of settles disputes. Not every single dispute, but like major disputes. Like, okay, so we got a crooked referee now. It's like, well, what's going to come of this? What's going to come of this? Is this going to be like baseball with Rob Manfred just letting the Astros get away with cheating? Like, and it's just like nothing happens and we just move on with our lives? Is that how it's going to be? You need to have something there to kind of advance these storylines. How... Number one, who's booking the shows? If there's no authority figure, why have a match at all? Like when they say, oh, confirmed for next week, it's going to be Aleister Black and AJ Styles. Well, who confirmed it? I'd like to know. Like the one of the great things they had about the Attitude Era, and she wasn't a great actress by any stretch, but they had Linda McMahon there to march out when things really got hairy, when Vince and Stephanie got way too in over their heads. Or Vince, Stephanie, and Shane, and then Linda would come out there to kind of just say like, okay, enough's enough. You guys, you're not going to run the show into the ground anymore. I'm taking over, and I make the final call because I'm the CEO. We do need that. We do. And I'm not, and I think I see a computer as the Raw GM. No, please no, not the Raw GM. Andrew Elder says we're a network representative for USA and Fox. That could be. I don't see an issue with like bringing back like kind of like what they're doing in NXT UK with Johnny Saint, where he's the general manager of NXT, or William Regal, even in NXT regular. He's there just to kind of, he's not there for everything, but he's there to kind of like settle disputes when it needs to be. Why can't we have a general manager like that, or a commissioner like that? Bring back some legend that's kind of just like floating around that maybe works backstage, or already. So someone who's already there. Who knows? Bring back a business, Joseph Connors or something like that. Whatever it is, just figure something out. Someone like Commissioner Foley would be good, Jamel says. Yeah, I would like that. JBL would be good in that role, Jamel says. That actually is a great idea. JBL would be phenomenal in that role. But yeah, they do need somebody there to kind of just like rein it in. Or just for continuity purposes, just so it's like, things just don't happen in, things just don't happen and then fade into the ether. Like everything should mean something. It's like there's just no quality control. It's just like it's just like things happen and it just goes away into the ether. It's gone. Bye bye. So like how can Yeah, we need an authority figure. We just do. Yeah. I have nothing to add there. But now thinking back on this show, now that I've reviewed it in theory, bring back people power, Quentin says, how dare you? Now that I've thought about it, other than that finish, and they did bring him back, and I can't really, and the Becky Lynch thing. Other than that, it actually really wasn't that bad of a show. So maybe I was a little off when I said that this was like not a great show. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I'm giving this show a thumbs up. What do you say in the chat room? What do you say? I knew I was a little off kilter tonight because when I looked at when I first put up the poll before we were going on the air, it was at like 92% thumbs up or something like that. I got a lot of votes real quick. And then by the time I went on the air, it fell to 69%. I'm kind of curious to see where it's at now. Let me just refresh the page and see what happens. I might lag for like 2 seconds for doing that. How dare I refresh the page? We got, 53% still give it a thumbs up. So it's still winning the thumbs up. It's still a popular show, but there's some dispute over which one should win. What do you say in the chat room? What do you think? What did you think of the show? Nafis Sadat says he gives it a thumbs up only because of the Garza match. Daniel Shell gives it a thumbs down. I give it thumbs up for these two crappy segments. Yeah. Up a bit for Billy Hefner. Thumbs up from Jamel. 69 giggity from Daniel Shell. 3 thumbs up, but the crowd deserves a 5 from Quentin. Good call. Good call on that. I agree with that. Well, on that note, I'm going to get out of here because I will be back on Thursday. I don't know if I'll be joined by anybody for the Wrestleview Live on Thursday reviewing Super ShowDown. Super ShowDown. Please tune in to Super ShowDown. And also, if you are watching us and watching this channel and you're enjoying what you're seeing, please press the subscribe button. We're working our way up to 1,000. We'd really like to get to 1,000 at some point. I don't know if I'll have anybody with me for Wrestleview Live. And Victoria seriously refuses to watch anything, any of these shows from Saudi Arabia. So she already said she will not do it. But she will be back for Wrestleview post Raw 72 next week. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta do. It looks like I'm gonna do another solo show. But you never know. Maybe Paul Never might drop in. You never know. On that note, I'm Mike Tedesco. I really, really appreciate you all kind of hanging out with me and watching this solo show tonight. I try to do my best with these solo shows. They're tough. They're tough. I don't know how Doug does it every single week, just talking to yourself. But you make it easy because the chat room is so lively. So I thank you all for doing that. You know, you kind of keep the conversation moving for me too, and I can actually have a little, almost like a little debate and all that stuff as well. So on that note, I thank you. I thank everybody that was here tonight. I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com. Have a great rest of the night, and I'll see you on Thursday.